Hello everyone, welcome to Denver International Airport. On this day we're going to fly the TFDI 717-200 series over to Seattle International Airport. And this is one of the longer routes that Delta does with this plane, and it's a route I've never done on this channel in any aircraft, let alone the 717. So it's nice to have the Seattle airport so I can start doing some new routes like that. And I've had this plane on quite a long leg, and once we get over to Seattle, I'll probably go down one of the next videos, go from Seattle down to San Diego, and that'll pretty much finish up the route with that, and then I'll get the plane back to the East Coast after that. But they've recently done an update to this plane that performs a lot better, and some of the other bugs were fixed too, and just continues to develop into a very beautiful aircraft. Now, we're going to take a look at the route. I got the route from FlightAware, and I map it out on SkyVector to show you guys exactly the way we'll be taking. This is going to be the RIC 3 departure, which brings you out a little bit north, and then we start to turn left by Medicine Bow. We're going to go by Rock Springs, and then we go a little bit up this way. And continuing north, and then eventually on in with the Chin 3 arrival, which is going to bring us to the Auburn waypoint, and then we're going to vector around, most likely to one of the 16 runways, the way things are right now, but we'll see once we get a little bit closer to the airport, just exactly how the winds will be and what runway we'll be coming in on, but that's what it is so far. The plane is pretty much prepped and ready. We just got to get the engine started. The pushback will be starting now, and then we'll be on our way. So the engines are started, everything's ready to go. We're going to begin our taxi. We're going to taxi onto Golf, and then Foxtrot. We're going to cross 16 left, and we'll take off on 16 right. And like I said, I had this plane on quite a long leg recently. We went from, started out in Atlanta, took it over to Raleigh, took it from Raleigh, North Carolina, back to Atlanta. Then I flew from Atlanta to Denver. But when I got to Denver, the Orbx Vector elevation was screwed up at Denver. It was fine before, it just somehow got thrown off somewhere along the line. So I couldn't land at Denver, it just wasn't going to happen. The runway was deep in the ground and there was no way to do it. So I diverted over to Colorado Springs, and then the next day I got Denver fixed, and I flew the 717 from Colorado Springs back to Denver, and now we're doing the flight from Denver to Seattle, and then from there the next time I do a flight with this, it'll most likely be from Seattle to San Diego, so that'll be fun. If you'll notice, I got the emergency power off. For some reason, this is new for me with this aircraft. When I turn it on, you have to have it on for the engine start. But after that, if I try to leave it armed or on, it starts to gives me an indication that it's draining the battery. And I'm not sure what's causing that, but once I get in the air, I notice it goes away once the APU is off and everything. So I'm not sure about that. So I've been turning it on for the engine start and then turning it back off, just because it says battery discharging. And then usually if I turn it back off, it says battery charging, and then once the battery is charged, it goes away the message. So I'm not sure why it's doing that, but that's like I said, a new one for me. But yeah. So right now we're getting on to Foxtrot, and we're just going to go straight to the end and be on our way out with the on runway 16. So, FlightSim Expo is finally upon us. It's just days away, and I'm looking forward to getting out there. Really can't wait. I'll mainly be with, I'll be at the FSElite booth, probably not the whole time. I'm going to be in and around filming, engaging with the community, and doing what I can around there and checking out everything there is to see. But I will be at the FSElite booth at certain times, so make sure you come by and say hello. It's going to be a great time out there in Vegas. This couldn't be at a better location, in my opinion, to have it somewhere like that. It's the first one that'll be in Vegas, so it's just going to be a lot of fun to rub elbows with the community and you know, just talk about and live what we all do on a near daily basis, which is flight simming like this. So right now we're holding short of 16 right. I'm going to go ahead and get the TCAS on and get the weather radar turned on. We're squawking in 4640. Go ahead and also get the landing lights on. Okay, we're cleared to line up. And that is what we're going to do now. But yeah, especially when I had this plane at Raleigh, it was performing so good, almost like a GA aircraft would with the frames per second. At Denver, it's a little bit okay. Whoa, the sun decided to poke out there all of a sudden. It looks a little bit better. But as I was saying, yeah, the performance is definitely improved. It's very noticeable in this aircraft. So if you haven't checked it out in a while, you may want to fly it again. And if you're using version 4 and wondering how I'm doing that, you can too. If you go to the website and opt into the community beta, you can fly the aircraft too. And the sun just went away again, but alright, we're going to throttle up and get out of here. I'll be with you guys in the air. Speed is alive. Knots. Got a long freeze there for some reason. It always happens at that point. Not sure why. V1. Rotate. V2. Positive rate, gear up. Alright, now we're going to head over to the Mac B waypoint, and that'll start to put us on course. But yeah, I had a few things to remember with this aircraft because it had been a little while, so I wanted to do a few flights before I recorded one, just to get used to it again.
Stabilizer motion. Stabilizer motion.
I don't remember, the profile mode is basically like the VNAV
Stabilizer motion.
You gotta get that on to fly the altitude constraints from the FMC.
Altitude.
But yeah, the FSElite booth is actually not far from the TFDI booth. I think we're neighbors somewhat across from each other. But the layout looks pretty cool. And
Stabilizer motion.
People are there. Air Force Proud is going to be there. Flight Chops, he'll be speaking there. And then there's also going to be some rare simulators. I believe a 737-200 and some other really rare ones are going to be on display there. So I'm looking forward to checking all that out. Like I said, hope to see you guys there. I'm going to bring some t-shirts with me. And don't forget, you can get a t-shirt that has the Flight Sim Deck logo on it. It's a black shirt. And make sure you get those. Working on some other designs that I might come out with soon. But just working on some different stuff right now. So there's Magby ahead of us. Now I'm arming the emergency power.
Altitude.
And we'll see what happens with that warning. It just states that it's on, but I believe once the APU gets off, it'll disappear for me. Okay, we got things a little more cleaned up. We're gonna get the APU off now. And right now we're just heading up to 16,000 feet. Our cruise today will be 32,000. But we'll just be at 16 for now. And everything's just going smoothly now. Just got the autopilot on and it is flying the route as it should. And things are going great. So this is I really like this aircraft. That's why I've been doing some flights with it lately. You know, I like to switch it up between the planes that I fly. It had been a while with this one, and that update came out, so you know, maybe I'll live stream with it pretty soon. Following the checklist that's provided, it seems to do everything real good. I think the only thing missing on there is that I don't think it mentions the turning the emergency power on. If it does, it's earlier in the checklist, which actually I think, now that I think about it, it might be earlier in the checklist instead of prior to the engine start. But I wrote it in there, I penciled it in. I actually learned that from a live stream once. I was having a problem getting the engine started and someone pointed out I needed that on, so I wrote it at this spot in the checklist prior to the engine start. Using Orbx, this is the Orbx North America pack that you're seeing here. And in certain areas it looks really good. Like I like the way it looks around here. That's more of what you would kind of see out in this area. So yeah, around here it's done nicely. Alright, so we're at 32,000 feet now. We're at cruise. The mountains below us are looking really good. And yeah, this flight's around 2.5 hours. And, you know, we're about just a little before halfway through the flight. Frames are still really good. Pan around pretty smoothly. I forgot to break out the VR goggles to get some of that footage and throw it in the middle here. But I'll have to remember to do that for next time. So we're getting closer to our descent, and I'm going to start, you know, I've confirmed we're going to land through the ILS approach for 16 right, so I'm going to go ahead and get the frequency in there at 110.75, and the course heading is going to be 164. So I have that plugged in there now, so I don't have to do it later. And then the next thing I want to do is put in the radio fix. After I confirm something, I gotta clear that out of there in a moment. So get Denver out of there and get Seattle. Now, to my knowledge, this does not fully work. You can add the airport, but usually with most MCP, most FMCs, you can just put /5/10 and it'll give you a radius of 5 miles, 10 miles, but it doesn't, everything I've tried, every combination I've tried, I can't get it to work, so I don't think that is functioning yet. If anybody knows a way to actually do it, if it is possible, let me know, but as far as I know, you can't do that right now. So we're beginning the descent. It does it for you as long as you're on the profile mode. Just plug in the altitude that you would like to go down to, and it'll begin it for you. You don't have to push any buttons or anything, as long as profile was already pushed at some point during the flight. Now, before you do the descent, you might want to push it anyway to make sure it's good. It should do the altitude call out. It'll say altitude, which is just confirming that it's at the altitude that it's supposed to. But yeah, right now we're making our descent down into Washington, and we'll be on the ground in probably about 15 minutes. Now the mountain here is Mount Rainier. There's a national park over there. I actually don't know too much about that mountain. I usually don't fly in this way because I'm usually not flying into Washington. That's new for me with the new scenery I got. So this is all pretty new. It's like it's new territory. I was noticing on Project Fly, you know, after about 150 hours, I hadn't flown much in this part. So that's also why I'm glad I'm flying over here. And we're on the glare shield as we're coming down to the descent. Pretty typical for this part of the country to usually be cloudy and raining. We're not getting any rain today, but the cloud coverage is certainly there. And now, just so I can give you the full approach, we just came through Auburn, which is towards the end of the Chin arrival, and we're just vectoring around now. I put in 2 waypoints to give myself a good turn that the autopilot should like. It's giving it plenty of time to make
Stabilizer motion.
Anything too sharp can usually just doesn't work out too good. Plane does do auto land, and the auto land works. We won't be doing that today, though. It's not necessary. I'm considering doing a tutorial in this plane as I learn it a little better. I'm pretty okay with it now. There's a few things I'm not too certain of. with it, like that emergency power issue on the ground, arming that or not, and why it was discharging the battery, what that could be. Maybe it's because the APU's on, I'm not sure, but the APU is required up to 10,000 feet, I believe. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I'm just going off the manual with that. And I wonder if that causes it. I'm not too sure. But I don't remember seeing that message ever before when I would fly this plane. Or it could just be I'm doing a different combination of things that's causing it than before. So now we're beginning the left turn, and it's doing it nice and smoothly. Sometimes it can kind of do an abrupt turn, but this is actually taking it very nice, and I think it's just the way it drew the lines there. When this aircraft first came out, the magenta lines were, it was all screwed up, I guess, with how it would calculate the draw path of the line, but it's really good now. Moving a little bit of spoiler out, just to slow down a little more. The radial fixes would really help in once you're at this point in the flight. But otherwise, if you don't have them, I just look at the last two waypoints. Those are usually, the second to last is usually a good indication of about 10 miles or so, which is when you want to start dropping the gear. Downtown Seattle on the right. Nice view of that. Gear down. You actually fly pretty close to Boeing Field on this approach. Which Boeing Field is a field we visited recently in 208B. So if you didn't see that video, you might want to check it out. It was a short flight, and it was just a good flight, some good scenery. Some of it around this region, they have free scenery through Orbx. You can check it out, the freeware. Yeah, things are really coming along. So you can just basically, if you're shooting the ILS, you can hit the approach land mode around this point, and you're pretty much good to go, ready to disengage when you're at about 1,000 feet or sooner, if you wish. But it flies the profile really good. Real pleased with that.
Stabilizer motion.
And there we are. You can see the airport, all three runways. Kind of reminds me of Sky Harbor with that, with the three parallels there. But we're going to be on the far right. And it puts us fairly close to our terminal. Trying to get the last notch of flaps out here, and this is a problem with my controls, not the 717. This is more with my axes are messed up. I actually cannot put full flaps right now, so I have to check those right now. And I remember in the past there was something causing that I can fix. They're going to notice in a moment the minimums call out is going to go off early. And by the way, that's Boeing Field down there right below us on the left. So you fly pretty much almost right over it. But anyways, you're going to notice the minimum call out is going to go early. With one thing you need to remember in this plane is you just need to set 200 in most cases. 200 will be the one. If you're coming into Princess Juliana or something like that, you'll set it higher than 200. But I was treating this like most other aircraft. You do the runway elevation plus 200, and that's how I had it set. So you're going to see the minimums call if it's 600. But really all you need to do is set 200, and it'll go off when it's 200 above the elevation. So that's one to remember. I also did that for Denver too. I set it at whatever 5,000 whatever feet it is, but here I think I set it for 630, and it really just needed to be like 230 or 200 actually. So yeah, I'm gonna remember that one for
autopilot.
next time. But okay, we're on final. We're gonna go sterile cockpit and
approaching minimums. Minimums. $500. $400. $300.
Glide slope.
200.
Glide slope. Glide slope.
30. 20. 10. 5.
This is me trying to get the nose down gently. I don't want to slam it into the ground, but I was pitched quite a bit up there. Sometimes the nose just drops, other times you've got to help it out a little bit. But that's still one of the things I'm trying to nail down in this aircraft. They all behave so differently, and I don't like just flying one thing, so sometimes the quality suffers a little bit when you're flying multiple aircraft around. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the replays coming up next. I don't think the spoilers and flaps all worked correctly on the replays, so just keep that in mind when you watch these. You'll see here like there's no flaps on the replay. The replays are not always a good indication of the instruments, how they actually were, but they look cool. The touchdown and everything is accurate. It's just you won't always see the spoilers reverse thrust deploy. Again, no spoilers on the replay. Looks like they're trying to come up, but they just didn't quite come up. Now, unfortunately, I lost the footage taxiing over to the gate. It's been a problem with OBS I've been having recently, but I did get footage approaching the gate, and this is where we're going to have to leave it today. Normally I would show you all the way over there, but the frames were kind of bad at Seattle, even with this aircraft, so might be something in the settings I can adjust. But thanks, guys, for joining me along on this flight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you at Flight Sim Expo.